everyone, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all doing well. If you're new here, then my name is Valencia, and in today's tutorial I'd like to talk to you guys about everything there is to know when you're booking your holiday in the pandemic or post-pandemic. Now that means, booking your flight, as easy as that sounds. It's about the tests and the vaccinations, it's about the travel restrictions, and also like the paperwork, which is just preparing the documents that you need before you fly out on holiday. Now this was requested by one of you guys, and I know how anxious I felt when booking my holiday, especially because this is the first one that I'd booked in 2 whole years, and on top of that the pandemic had a part to play in it. So if this video helps even one of you guys, then I'll be really happy. So before we get into the content of the video, if you're new here and you'd like to be part of the family, then all you need to do is hit the subscribe button down below, and that way you'll be updated with videos whenever I upload them. So let's talk about first things first, which is planning your holiday or planning your destination. Now it sounds easy, but trust me, it's the little things that also matter. For example, my flight to Antigua was about 7 hours, but it's the little things like wearing a face mask throughout the entire flight. It sounds easy, it sounds like it's a tiny bit of a hassle, but it is actually very uncomfortable to wear it for 7 hours straight. The only time that you can take your face mask off is when you're eating or drinking in flight, otherwise you've got to keep it on. Even if you're sleeping, like taking a nap, you still have to keep your mask on. And if you've got to do that for 7-8 hours or even more depending on where you're going, it is a hassle. So I'd say choose your destination wisely, and what I mean is pick a handful of destinations that you want to go to, whether it be somewhere closer to you or somewhere a bit further out. Now I wanted to go somewhere tropical in February because it was my partner's birthday and just wanted to escape the cold weather. So we decided to I decided to take him to Antigua in the Caribbean. Now this takes us to number 2, which are the travel restrictions, and you want to look into the requirements that each of these countries have before booking your holiday, which are to do with the vaccination status or the test requirements as well. I booked this holiday in September last year, so that was October, November, December, Jan, Feb. That was a good 5 months before we were going to fly out, and I kid you not, it was the most anxious I've ever been because like I said, it was the first trip I'd booked in 2 whole years, and then with the pandemic playing a part in it, it just meant that the travel was very up and down back then. The rules kept changing every now and then. I think in September there was either a green list or no, I'm pretty sure there was a green list, an amber list, and a red list as well. And Antigua and Barbuda was on the green, but it was on the verge of going into the amber list. I'm pretty sure that's what it was. But then as after I booked it, I think they changed the rules they changed the traffic light system to either a green list of travel safe countries or a red list where you couldn't travel to, which wasn't safe to travel to. The rules would say one thing today, and 2 weeks later you'd go back and it'd be very different. The requirements would be different, or it could probably even be on the red list, which means you couldn't travel there. So it was very stressful booking the holiday. Obviously, travel has become a lot easier now. It's more stable, the rules don't change that drastically anymore, so hopefully if you guys are booking any holidays now or in the future, it will be easier for you than it was for me. But first things first is do your research when you're planning your holiday, I'd say, and look into the entry requirements for all of these countries that you'd like to go to, and find somewhere that's suitable for you. Find somewhere that's that you're happy with, because not every country, but more or less the restrictions are the same, the requirements are the same for all of these countries, but it can be different. For example, when we flew out to Antigua in February, we had to have a negative PCR test, and we also had to be double vaccinated. And if you weren't double vaccinated, I think you had to have a negative PCR test, and you had to self-isolate maybe, and then do a similar thing when you came back. Now, my friend who went to Milan last year, I think it was maybe sometime in October or November, when she went to Milan last year, I'm pretty sure she told me she only had to show that she was double vaccinated. I don't think she had to do a PCR test when she went there. So it's different from one country to another, so just look into that. And yeah, I mean, let's just take a quick look at whether or not the restrictions are any different now than they were back then. So I'm on the government website now, and let's see, travelling abroad from England. Okay, here we go. Foreign travel advice for Antigua and Barbuda. Entry requirements. It looks like it's pretty much the same. All arriving and transiting passengers aged 18 and above must provide evidence of having received 2 doses of the vaccination, and also a negative PCR test. I think it said something like, there you go. Must also have a negative PCR test, which, to be honest, is the same as when we had to fly out in February. Now, Barrett and I are both double jabbed, so it made things a lot easier because we wouldn't have to self-isolate when we get there, or we wouldn't have had to do any further tests when we were there as well in Antigua. So have a look at all of that. When I was researching for myself, I think pretty much all the countries in the Caribbean had similar requirements. So it was very similar from island to island, which made it easier. So if we couldn't go to Antigua, I'm pretty sure we would have gone somewhere else in the Caribbean. So just be mindful of that, I'd say. And then heading to number 3, which are I'd say paperwork is a big thing, whether that's organising your paperwork or organising the tests, and also, keeping them all together is quite important as well, because you don't want to get there, you don't want to get to the airport and sort of be looking around, rummaging for all your paperwork. This was, I'd say, the most challenging part for me, because reading about it on the government website or anywhere else is very easy, it's one thing, but when you're doing it, when you're trying to organise these tests, or when you're trying to work out what sort of documents you need and whether these documents will be approved when you get to the airport, that's another. And I'd say the reason why I was so anxious about the paperwork side of things was because my ex-manager, she was flying out to Florida, if I remember correctly. It may have been like early parts of last year. And this was when, or maybe it was even 2020, but this was when your vaccination wasn't that important, your vaccination status wasn't that important. You could fly out, but you needed to have the right documents in place, obviously. And according to her, she had all the paperwork she needed, but when she got to the airport, they refused to check her in because the documents she had was either not enough, or I think they weren't the right stuff that she needed, the right paperwork that she needed. And she said that the rules had changed on the day itself, on the day that she got to the airport, which, very unfortunate for her. Till today, I struggle to sort of digest that these things can happen, that she actually couldn't fly out. But I mean, if she's saying that happened, then it must be true. And can you imagine being in a position where you're at the airport, you're at the check-in counter, and the lady behind the counter or the gentleman behind the counter is like, sorry miss, but we can't board you onto the flight because your paperwork isn't in order, I'd be so embarrassed. I'd probably just stand there and cry because you've done everything you needed to, and then you're literally one step away from flying out and they're like, you can't go. You don't want to be in that position, which is why the paperwork and all of these tests and everything are so important. So I mean, I'm really hoping that this helps, but first things first was I downloaded the NHS app. If you guys are not from the UK, or if some of you are not from the UK, then it simply is the National Health Service app, and it shows your vaccination status on there. Mine had a record of both the vaccinations I had and also the booster that I've had. So you might have something similar. It's basically like a travel passport. You might have something similar in your countries as well. When we booked our tests, when we booked the PCR tests, so the clinic that we were going to suggested that we download the Health Worldwide app, I think it's called, or let me just check my phone. It's called the Health Passport app. Sorry, it's called the Health Passport Worldwide app. So this is it. It's the Health Passport Worldwide app. And ignore my photo, I look dreadful. But right now my card is orange, it's amber. It's because I haven't had a COVID test done. Or it's expired, but before I travelled out it was green. So you've got loads of different little dockets at the bottom. As you can see, you've got status, you've got tests, which mine shows that I got tested on the 12th of February and the result was not detected. And then you've got the vaccination docket as well. So this is where you can upload your proof of being vaccinated. The first one and the second one, I put my booster on there as well. When I had this, I've just deleted all of those things because I didn't want them to keep a record of it. And the last one is your travel docket. So here you can put your boarding pass, for example. Let's see what else you can put there. Yeah, there you go. Arrival date, departure city, arrival city, booking reference, airline. You can save everything on there, so everything is in one place. Before I knew of this app, I was sort of panicking, thinking, where am I going to save all my documents? They're going to be everywhere. Like my NHS app is going to have my vaccination status, but like where am I going to put my boarding pass? Where am I going to put my the test results? And do I need a paper copy? Do I not? So I think download that app, I'd say, if you're going to fly out, or I'm pretty sure there'll be something similar to it that you can download. You can speak to the clinics that you're getting your tests done as well, they'll advise you better. And also there was the British Airways app so I think it was probably a week before I flew out, I got an email from British Airways saying download the Verifly app. Which I don't have on my phone at the moment, but if I can find it, I'll just put a picture up here somewhere. But it was the Verifly app, and that was really helpful as well. I didn't expect British Airways to do something like this. How do I describe it? It was basically having your boarding pass on there and checking me and Barrett in on the app itself, and you could also have your what did it have? You could also have your vaccination status on there, as well as your test results on there as well. I had both of them just to be sure, just in case one wouldn't get accepted and the other would. So I had the Verifly app, and I also had the Health Worldwide app as well. I mean, if British Airways had something like this, I'm sure some of the other airlines will also have their own version of it. It might be Verifly, it might be something else, but those were the two apps that really helped me. If I didn't, I'd probably panic when I got to the airport. I felt reassured because British Airways had obviously suggested the Verifly app, so if anything on there was improved when I would be at the check-in, then it wouldn't be my fault. It honestly made our check-in so quick. Like, we got to the counter and I'm pretty sure within like 10 minutes we were walking through the security. I'd also suggest, one thing I'd suggest for you guys to do, obviously, you know, you're going to be looking at what you need to do before you fly out. I'd say you'd also probably be better off if you check what your return requirements are when flying back, because you don't want to also spend, you know, if you're on a holiday for a week, you don't want to spend the last 2 days of your holiday when you really should be enjoying your paradise or, you know, your adventure. You don't want to spend that time looking for what you need to do before you get back. I'd say do that research before you go on holiday as well. Now, it's a different story if you're flying out for maybe 2 weeks, 3 weeks. If you're going on a longer holiday, then you kind of need to invest that time later on your trip. But if you're only going for a few days or a week, then do the research before. Now, about a month before flying out, when I was researching into the tests that I needed or where I should get my tests done, I noticed that the travel requirements when returning back to the UK, it was that I had to get a day 2 PCR test or an antigen test, I think, and it had to be negative, otherwise obviously you've got to self-isolate. But a week before flying out, the rules actually changed into like to our benefit. So we didn't have to get the day 2 test done, it was just fly back and complete a passenger locator form. So I completed that, I think, when did I do that? I think I did that on the last night of our stay in Antigua. It took literally like 10 minutes, so that wasn't too bad. But you want to check for what the requirements are, because like it changed for the better, who knows, it could change for the worse. You could probably need something else. You probably have to get a PCR test done. So just, you know, just look into those things as well. It takes literally 10 more minutes of your research. I think that's pretty much it. That's everything. I mean, that was my experience. That's everything that I think you need to know about flying out, or what you need to do before you fly out. Honestly, I wish I had something like this to watch on YouTube, because like I said, reading is one thing and actually learning from someone else's experience is another. You just educate yourself better when you see these things, I guess. Even if it meant that someone had sat down with me and talked to me about these things, you know, it would have made things so much easier. Especially when, and I don't think I would have had so much anxiety, especially when Barra had just started a new job in Jan this year, and I didn't want to burden him with all of this whilst he was getting grips of his new job. I thought I'd take on the stress completely and just let him focus on his job, what he needed to do. So it sounds like it's not a lot, but it can be. Especially with like booking your PCR tests and that sort of thing, because at the end of the day, it is a business as well. Like, there are so many clinics and so many companies that offer, you know, a PCR test or an antigen test, and different companies, or there's different price points for whether, you know, for when you get your results. Some of them, they say you get your result within an hour. Some of them, they say you get your results within 24 hours. With some, they say between 24 and 48 hours. So it is a business at the end of the day. So you just want to be, you just also want to know, you just want to be at peace that you made the right decision, I'd say, with whoever you're going ahead with. For us, being in Colchester, I think the cheapest and the closest run for us was in Brentwood, which is about a 40-minute drive from here, and it was £64, I want to say, or maybe £67. But when I compared it with some of the places here in Colchester, it was like £134, which is double that. So, you know, you want to look into that as well. You want to make sure you get the best deal, and you also want to make sure that it's legit. Can you imagine taking a test and going to the airport and whoever it is, they don't, like, the authority doesn't recognize the company that you've had your test done with, or like these sort of things, they just come to your mind. So I'd say you know, just invest some time before you actually fly out. There's loads of things that you need to consider before you do. I mean, time was different 2 years ago or 3 years ago when you just picked somewhere you wanted to go to. And the biggest worry, like when we went to India in 2019, our biggest worry was getting the vaccinations, like getting your hepatitis A vaccination or tetanus or that sort of thing. And you could get them done at the GP. But now, it's like that are the least of your concerns. It's about having the right test done, or it's about getting your test results back. It's about making sure you're negative before you actually fly out. So things have just changed, unfortunately, but they're getting better. Like I said, it was a lot different in September when I booked the holiday, and in February it was so much easier. And even now, I mean, you know, just knowing that in the UK you don't have to do a day 2 test anymore. You can just come back and return to work the very next day if you wanted to. And I think now the rules are that even if you get a positive test, a positive COVID test when you're in the country, you do not have to, you're legally not required to self-isolate. So a lot of things have changed, and they will keep changing. So it will be so much easier for you guys when you book a holiday. I just know it. And even if I go on holiday next, whether that's this year or next year, Barrett and I are actually thinking of going to New York next year. So I'm pretty sure that things will be different once again, and hopefully it will be a lot easier. But I really hope you guys enjoyed this. I really hope it was educational. I hope you took something away, if not everything. And I hope you guys, you know, have a safe flight and have an enjoyable trip, an enjoyable holiday. So that's pretty much it. That's it from me. I will see you guys in my next video. But until then, stay safe, and I'll see you in my next video. Let the bus pass. I'll see you in my next video. Bye bye.